All right, ladies, welcome back. We are continuing on in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. We are in the chapter Working with Others, and we are midway down page 90. Sometimes it is wise to wait until he goes on a binge. The family may object to this, but unless he is in dangerous physical condition, it is better to risk it. Don't deal with him when he is very drunk, unless he is ugly and the family needs your help. Wait for the end of the spree, or at least for a lucid interval. Then let his family or a friend ask him if he wants to quit for good and if he would go to any extreme to do so. If he says yes, then his attention should be drawn to you as a person who has recovered. You should be described to him as one of a fellowship who, as part of their own recovery, tries to help others and who will be glad to talk to him if he cares to see you. We're going to break it down. So here, yes, if they're not done, it is best to wait for them to be done. Bill was 12th stepped while he was drinking, but he was not very drunk. This is kind of one of those, there's no rules. There's no rule of thumb, but if you have a prospect that you're working with and you've been working with from a while, you get to know their patterns. You get to see where they may have a lull. One of those periods where they are depressed, shameful, remorseful, hungover. Hit on them when they are hung over, and you've got a good opportunity. But you don't need to have that the clear head or the sobriety in order to talk to them and 12-step them. I frequently talk about step 1, step 2, step 3 with someone who is not completely sober, but of course you would not continue with them. You want them to have detoxed and been cleared-minded. But like I said, there is no rule of thumb. There's lots and lots of examples of this. I usually don't let a family or a friend ask them if they're done because families usually have told them they need to be done. There might be some hostility there or some not very great supportive language from the family. So usually my course is, hey, are you done? Like, do you really want to stop for good? I'm quite blunt, and I'll just say it myself to them. Are you done? Are you done feeling like this? Are you ready to stop? Yes, I am. Are you willing to go to any lengths? Are you willing? Are you going to be open-minded? Yes, I am. If not, call me when you are. I'm not a babysitter. I'm not a cushy shoulder to cry on. I have empathy and I will listen, but I'm not someone to call, when you're feeling like shit and you want to unload. I'm here to help take you through this program to help you get sober. But we can lend an empathetic ear, but you have to be very careful to not become the dumping ground, right? Conversation on this. Any experience with working with someone who maybe has been drunk or is coming out of a spree? Marianne?
Hi, friends. I am an alcoholic from Toronto. My name's Marianne. I do have a question. Not so much. I don't have a lot of experience with bringing somebody new into the program. Like, I have experience with people that are in meetings and sobering up. But when I'm working with people that are in the program and have been sober, I've had the situation where I've tried to tell their experience when they have asked for help and what to do, and they didn't want to go forward with that plan. Like, they go and get another sponsor or they go and talk to somebody else. And I find it kind of frustrating. But, my sponsor keeps saying they're on their own journey in that. But so I guess what I'm trying to say is just keep to the experience that I have and what I did to get through every kind of problem that they may dump on me. I guess that's all I can do. I have a hard time as a mother not fixing people, right? That's all.
Yeah, no, I hear that too, and it is frustrating because we do have a solution, and those of us who are living an experience and enjoying the solution, it is really frustrating to see people. But I always revert back to page 16, where in Bill's story he finishes with, "He could not or would not see our way of life." You know, I have a girl, I've been working with her for 2 years, and she's been drunk for almost the entire 2 years. She's got the honesty. She's got the willingness. She doesn't have the open mindedness for God. So she's almost there, you know, but that's just, you need to be honest, willing, and open minded. And some people just aren't one of those things or all of them, and that's okay. I tend to be the last stop of the train where they try all the easier, softer ways, and then they're like, fuck, I gotta work with Kim. No one else will work with me because they're fed up with my shit. It's like, welcome aboard. Choo choo, the sober train's room and let's go. Right? So, you know, I'm a bit of a last stop. Like, you gotta really want it to, like, apparently I'm a hard ass. Like, I know the solution, I know the big book, and that's the only solution I offer. Where sometimes people, they want to try the easier, softer way, and that's okay because it is their journey, and all I can do here is save the space. And this is where it's really good not to be judgmental, not to be overzealous, because we want to save that space for them when their methods fail to come back to us and be humble enough to ask us for the solution. Christine. This dang mute button. You're not unmuted yet.
I did. Okay. Hi, I'm Christine. I'll start over. And I'm an alcoholic, and I wanted to claim my seat. And I wanted to say that thank you for sharing all this, because I was wondering if there was something I was doing wrong, because in the last, I would say, 15 years, I had one sponsee who accepted to work the solution. Everybody else, I think I scared them. I'm like, well, when I sponsor through the big book, and we're going to go through the steps as they're laid out, not as this therapy treatment or that therapy treatment, and I don't hear about them anymore. So it's just really nice to know that I'm not alone. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, some days my phone doesn't ring and I'm almost a little envious of the, you know, bridal showers and baby shower sponsors, that cushy stuff, because then nobody was calling me. But, you know, when you take people through the book and they're living the design for living, they don't call you unless they have a question on how to sponsor other women. And, you know, that's what worked for me, and so that's what I pass on. Mary in Maine, welcome.
Hi there. So glad to be here with you today. And thank you so much for your service. You had asked for comments about this piece of the reading and experience with it. And I do have experience with a couple different things I wanted to pass on. One is that when I work with another woman who doesn't get it or who doesn't want it, I stay sober nonetheless. And that's part of what this is about, is that when Bill realized that he had to work with others to stay sober himself, that's part of our program. And so I love these women, and I do my best to be as God-centered as I can to help them. And I completely detach from the outcomes of whether or not they get the program, because I stayed sober the day I was helping them, the hour I was helping them. So that's one piece of experience I wanted to pass on around this. And the other is that I gave in once to a woman who was like threatening to drink again if I didn't do certain things to help her out. And I just want to own that, because, you know, lesson learned. I was fairly new into sponsoring, and I put myself in a position where I believed her BS and enabled her to take me hostage. She couldn't take me hostage if I wasn't willing to go. And I was willing to be taken hostage. And she ended up, drinking and going out, and I don't know what ended up happening to her. But I just want to say, to share that experience too, because, this isn't about me. This isn't about, I am armed with a solution. I'm armed with my own experience, and all I can do is pass that on to the next person. And if she wants it, hallelujah, the angels sing and the clouds part, and and God smiles. And if she doesn't, hallelujah, right? She's on her path. I'm on my path. And so I just think it's really important for me to be reminded that the 12th step is not about check marks in the win column of people staying sober. It's that I'm staying sober and I'm bringing the solution that's worked for me. And where God has plans for the other people is between God and them. All I can do is show up. So I really appreciate the opportunity to just sort of bear witness to that in front of this group today. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary. Now, I'm going to read something to y'all, which isn't in the big book, but it was passed on to me and it's relevant, and hopefully you like it. If not, sorry. But I also want to say, I had a sponsee call, and they had purchased a 26er of vodka. So I don't know if that's the same there as it is here. But anyways, they purchased a big old bottle of vodka. And they said, I bought a bottle of vodka, and I don't know what I'm going to do. And I'm like, okay, well, call me when you decide. Drink it or don't. Like, call me when you figure it out. And they were like, what? What do you mean? You're not going to? I'm like, the book says, if you think you can try it, try it. Call me when you figure it out, and we'll go from there. There's nothing I can do in the meantime. They ended up calling me 20 minutes later, and they had dumped the bottle. But I want to read this. It's about holding space. And I think it might be really helpful to some of us, and it goes a little like this. Holding space requires us to step fully into being when everything inside of us is telling us we should be doing. Space holding doesn't mean taking responsibility for the internal world of another. It's never our job to fix another person's feelings or to expect someone else that can fix ours. Holding space isn't saying all the right things. It isn't doing much of anything, really. Holding space is the art of being with someone's pain and allowing them to have their experience without making it about ourselves. Holding space is the quiet, powerful force of present, loving connection. Holding space is an I love you and I'm not going anywhere while you process this emotion. Holding space is patience and eye contact when someone is scared or overwhelmed by their own feelings. Presence without judgment, a hug, a non-reactivity, learning not to take things personally or trying to save someone from their feelings are profound acts of space holding. Our pain and grief deserve equal seats at the table of our sparkle and joy. Blocks only occur when we try turning off the tap. And as we learn to let our feelings in, we learn to let them go just as freely. Living by a good vibes or goodbye philosophy is dangerously shallow. In a culture where we shame negative feelings and pedestal the light, we risk isolating ourselves from others when we really need love and support. Relationships are deepened through vulnerability and the courage to let another in when you're hurting. Closeness comes from seeing someone in their darkest moments and reminding them they are loved exactly as they are. You deserve to experience this deep depth of connection and love. We all have a special signature in a relationship that can either hurt or help our chances in love. Please hold the space. So hopefully that helps a little bit with space holding, where we can just be to nurture and love. Kelly D.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kelly. I'm an alcoholic. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. And working with others is such a great, big chapter of this program. And, working with sponsees through the years. And I celebrated 11 years on May 3rd of this year. And I cannot believe it's been such a gift to be here and be of service. So with my journey in the beginning, I would take on my friends. I wanted to two-step. I wanted them all to come in and sober train. Woo woo, come on in, and and it was really hard, and I didn't have it yet, but I still planted the seed. Like Kelly's on this journey, and some of them are dead, and some of them are out there still, and I pray for them. I had this one sponsee, and I'll never forget her. And she was a tough case, and she's out there, and she would call me, and she was drinking and getting high, and she wouldn't give up the boyfriend. And I remember she would call me, and my sponsor would be like, she's robbing you space of time of working with another, and you got to tell her that. Does she want this program? And I was like, very vulnerable, and I wanted to listen. I wanted to help so bad that I'd be on the phone being held hostage for like hours with sponsees in the beginning until I learned. So now it's really simple. It's like, did you drink today? Did you get to a meeting? You didn't get to a meeting? Okay, call me after you get to the meeting and we'll talk about that. Are you in the solution or the problem? Like really clear cut, boom, in the face, so that you're not there like, listening to the problems, because I was a doormat for a very long time. But you know what? I learned, and I have two really amazing sponsees now. One I've been working with for 10 years, and one is actually new. And recently, before the pandemic, one relapsed on crack cocaine and alcohol, and she's been out ever since, and I've been praying for her too. And it is really their own divine path, and I have to detach with love and get off their path. And if they really want this, I want to do what we do, and we'll go to any lengths. They're gonna get this. So thanks again, Kim, for your service. I really love these meetings, and everybody have a great Monday. Thanks.
Well, and that's a really good reminder what Kelly said about we're planting a seed. So something I may plant now might not grow for a while. Like we don't see the fruit of our trees for many, many seasons sometimes. And so we just have to remember that we're planting the seed, and that seed is of God's love. And maybe if you plant one and it doesn't grow, sometimes just plant 10 and one of them will grow, right? Joanne.
Hi everyone, I'm Joanna. I'm an alcoholic addict, and I found that in doing 12-step work, it reaffirmed how much I needed Al-Anon, because it's a family disease, and I might be sober and I might be working internally on my own program, but I'm not an island, and I interact with other alcoholics, and the lines get complicated sometimes. Our hearts get complicated. And Al-Anon has really helped me understand. There's this joke that I heard a long time ago. It came from Al-Anon. And you say it to Al-Anon people and they laugh really deeply. But if you say it to people just in AA, they kind of get offended. But the joke goes, what do you call an Al-Anon slip? 5 minutes of compassion. Because a lot of what I get is, it's not about the drinking, it's about my husband, it's about my children, it's about this, oh, poor woe me, I can't work the program because poor woe me. And it's like, I care, I've been in that position, but it comes down to, do you want it different? If you want it different, then try this. I have a great, great story. I was single, I was living with a roommate who was gay. And I got a phone call one night from a very drunk young woman. And her voice was very unique. And it sounded like my friend Kathy's sponsee. And I said, Samantha? And she went, yes. I said, you drunk? And she went, yes. So, halfway, drunk, halfway saying, so I started talking program. The next night she called me again, because we were olden days, same line, different phones. She called me again. And for almost a week, I kept talking to her about sobriety. And then I called my friend Kathy and I said, your sponsee's calling me drunk every night. And she said, no, she's not. I said, yes, she is. She goes, no, she's not. I promise you. And her sponsee called me that night and said, it's not me, Joanna. I'm in treatment right now. I don't know who you're talking to. So I eventually got a hold of my roommate and who was also in program. And I said, any guess? And she goes, yeah, there's this girl that's been stalking me. And you must have got her. And she was drunk. And so she calls finally again. And I said, why are you calling me? She goes, because you were not drinking and you had something that sounds different. She eventually, I invited her to a meeting. You know, I don't know what her path was, but the seed was planted. So you never know. You just never know when suddenly you represent the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And you just plant the seed and see what happens. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Yes, the best is all of the people you used to drink and party with, when they start calling you, those are the fun ones. I actually had my, late night caller person call me, and I've taken her through the big book, which is really interesting. A couple more and then we'll move on. We will finish a page in this chapter, but this chapter is so juicy, and this is where the meat and the potatoes is in working with others, so I don't mind going slow. Hopefully you don't either. Lori.
Hi, ladies. So, yeah, there was someone that was talking about, Lori Alcoholic. There's someone that was talking about basically that if she doesn't pass along, I'm trying to find her name, but it doesn't really matter, is that if she doesn't pass along, or if she does, that ensures her sobriety. And to me, it's like, I was brought into the rooms by someone who died because she did not pass the message along. She was not passing the message along. She was getting drunk, or I don't really know at the time what had happened, but she did not make it because she was not passing along the message. Whether she was trying, whether she wanted to, whether, none of that mattered, is that she wasn't doing it. She was lost in her disease. She was not helping another. And that's all it takes. That's my goal, is to help one woman through these steps, through this program. In the past 10 years, I'll be 30 in 2 years. I'll be 28 tomorrow on 7/7. It's my birthday. But, the point is that it's been 10 years I haven't taken one woman through this program. I'm not proud of that. It's not like something I, want to shout in the rooms of AA, but it's the fact that at least I'm aware that that's what this program is about. And that's what I want to do, is I want to take a woman who is alcoholic, a real alcoholic like me, who cannot drink normally, who once she takes that first drink, who all that needs to have is the desire to stop drinking, to be a member of this fellowship, and to work these steps. And I appreciate you, Kimberly, and everybody else. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Quick tip, if you are looking for a sponsee and you are looking to take people through this book, start a meeting. There's that saying, meeting makers make it. It doesn't mean meeting makers that people go to meetings. It means make a meeting and you'll make it. Start a step group in your house. Start a ladies group in your house. Start a Zoom meeting and post it on a Facebook group. Hey, I'm doing a ladies big book study. Who wants to come? People will show up. You post that link everywhere, you'll have at least 2 people for sure, and read the book to them. And if they fall off, well, like we said earlier, you stay sober. Marianne?
Hi, sorry to ask another question. Not sure what you meant by like a bridesmaid sponsor or bridal shower sponsor. Go ahead.
So my sponsor says to me, I'm not going to be your baby shower, bridal shower sponsor, meaning I'm not going to be your friend. I'm here to be your spiritual advisor. So that's what she says to me.
Okay. And also too, and I've struggled with this too, because I'm fairly new at taking people through. But what do you do when you have somebody calling you up? So you give your phone number and they call you up when they're drunk. Like, what is I guess God will give me the direction. But like sometimes you just sit there and go, really? Like you can't even get through, you know? So
I give them,
Yep.
well, you get really good at the art of cutting them off at the right time and telling them a story where they go, yeah, like so that they know that you know what they're talking about. And then I bring the book out. And it does one of two things. They get you off the phone real fast when you start talking about God, or they start thinking. So the girl that I have that's been calling me for 2 years drunk, her hang up is God. So like I'll talk about page 10 where it talks about how Bill wasn't a fan of religion and God. And then I'm like, go read that page and call me back. Tell me what you think. Or I do page 13. When in doubt, sit quietly and ask for strength and direction. When they're all like, then they do one of two things. They beat off because you've talked about God and they'll call you when they're sober, or it makes them stop and think.
Okay.
It's just you get good at the art of cutting them off, and the best way to cut somebody off is to let them know you've heard them.
Okay.
Right? Because then they're like, oh, she gets it. She's heard me. So I'm like, yeah, I've had that too. And I say my experience and finish their story, because their stories, pretty much we can finish anyone in this room's story if they start talking about it. I'm not like, oh, I can tell you what happens next. They'll be like, yeah. Right? Like the girl calls me from the psych ward. Those are my favorite. She's like, I'm in the psych ward. Oh my God. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, let me guess. You stopped going to meetings. You stopped praying. You stopped doing your work. And they're like, yeah, how'd you know? I'm like, I heard it at those meetings you stopped going to. And then they're like, oh. I'm like, are you ready to be done? And then we just transition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah. Because we get so good at just listening and listening and listening and listening. Lise, we got to move on. I'll get you after this paragraph. If he does not want to see you, never force yourself upon him. Neither should the family hysterically plead with him to do anything, nor should they tell him much about you. They should wait for the end of his next drinking bout. You might place this book where he can see it in the interval. Here, no specific rule can be given. The family must decide these things, but urge them not to be over anxious, for that might spoil matters. Usually, the family should try not to tell your story. When possible, avoid meeting a man through his family. Approach through a doctor or an institution is a better bet. If your man needs hospitalization, he should have it, but not forcibly unless he is violent. Let the doctor, if he will, tell him he has something in the way of the solution. So back then was a lot different than now. Now a lot of our experience is people who have pretty much come to the conclusion they need to be one around us. But one thing is, if it is someone new, like typically most of the people that I encounter have been in and out, and it's not their first kick of the can. And so our approach is going to be differently. But there are the strange few, or not the strange few, the far and few between, who maybe are coming for the first time, and their family is overzealous. You have a problem, you're a mess, you need to get sober, you need to fix it, you need to do that. If you have the opportunity to encourage the family members not to be that way, it's very, very wise. And you can steer them in the direction of Al-Anon. Place this book where he might see it. I love the story that Tony left this book on his neighbor's front doorstep. That's my favorite. I have a few neighbors here where I've wanted to put some pamphlets under their door and just like go by the wayside. But just dropping those nuggets, planting those seeds. Most of the people we come in contact with are coming through treatment centers or detoxes, or by work of EAP through their employer. Or they've been in and out of the room. So our approach is going to be different every time. Lise?
Definitely real alcoholic, yeah. So I, as much as I love this chapter, I've had one hell of a time in this past little while working with a woman who initially sponsored me in just a little over 16 years ago. And after 5, God, you know what? If she listens to this down the road, she will. I'm not holding hope for that. These people that I've walked with for a long time have really missed a season of recovery, and I hear it on the phone when I'm speaking with one in particular. But this one that's heartbreaking, last night I had to make a decision not to return a phone call just based on this page. A tough call, but that's all I wanted to share. I had to let the phone go to voicemail. I couldn't deal with it.
Thanks, Lise. And it's, you know, you will get seasoned with knowing when to answer the phone and when to not to. You will see patterns in people. And as you work with people, you grow. And, you know, I've outgrown sponsors, and I've outgrown friends in this program, in this fellowship. And that's okay. It's okay to keep growing. It's okay to switch your home group if you're not growing spiritually. I've seen so many people stagnant because they're scared of hurting someone's feelings. I need to live more than I need you to like me, and you can deal with your resentment on your own time, and I will apologize if I have hurt your feelings in any way on purpose. But we need to keep growing. Please don't be scared to grow for fear of hurting someone's feelings. Your skin gets tight and tough as a result. Anne-Marie.
Hi, I'm Anne-Marie. I'm an alcoholic. Going back to the one who calls you drunk, what we tend to do here, I don't know what I did there, but anyway, is to simply say, call me back when you're sober. That's it. Just call me back when you're sober. Don't talk to me when you're drunk, because I'm not going to waste my time. And on the other hand, I don't know what it's like in your area, but where I live, we're a very small English AA community. Okay? I'm talking about the AA community. Everybody knows everybody, okay? And a lot of the people have been through rehab. And to say that you are not a baby shower, bridal shower sponsor means you're going to sponsor no one. Mm-hmm. Everyone wants to talk about their problems. Everyone wants to talk about their feelings. And God forbid you should hurt their feelings. I've had to fire sponsees who are not ready. We're simply not ready. Or they were not one of the 3 things you mentioned. And well, that hurt my feelings. I had one sponsee fire me because I wouldn't give her a 4-month chip. I had just given her a 3-month chip. And the way I was in the program, you get a 1, a 3, a 6, a 9, and then your first year. Okay? She wanted a pat on the head, a public pat on the head, because she'd had a bad month, a hard month. I didn't do it. I don't know if she got her 4-month chip from someone else, but she slipped. You know? I'm not sure that the directness and the I'm not here to be your friend would work in this area. I'd love to put it in. Someone said, oh, Emily, you're so empathic. I said, I'm not the least bit empathic. I have no empathy at all. I have sympathy. I'm sorry you're hurting, but I do not feel your pain. I only feel mine. You know? So I would love to be as hard ass, and I'm known as a hard ass. I'd love to be as hard ass as you are. But I'm going to try and do it. We'll see.
Well, one thing I will say is we teach people how we treat us. Yeah. And so, you know, one person is the change. No one has ever come up to me at a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous and said, hey, Kim, I really loved your share. Do you want to be friends?
Yeah.
A hell of a lot of that come up to me and said, hey, Kim, I really love your share. Will you be my sponsor? I need you to help me because I need to live. So, I become friends with them once this is concluded and we're all living in love and light, but I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to be sober. Friends is a bonus. Fellowship is amazing. But first and foremost, I need to live and be sober. And I've had people that are like, I think we'd be better friends than sponsor. And I'm like, I'm not friends with people who are dibble dabbling in this and that. Like here in Vancouver, like if you want sponsees, come on up. Talk about the big book. We've got people dying. My friend died yesterday. People are dying in droves here, and it's horrible and awful. And it's like unfortunate that we're getting to the point where it's like we lost another one. And our grieving period is so quick now because it's so common that I need to be direct, because you will die if you go out here, because they're not dealing with just alcohol anymore, right? So, but no, if they're coming up to you at meetings and saying, hey, I want to be your friend, and all for it, but if they're asking you to be a sponsor, then a little directness never hurt. And my sponsor also says that if you don't like it, my name is spelt, and then she spells her name for your 4. So like she's tough. Really, that's why I picked her to be my sponsor. I was like, yes, I want her. That was the line. She shared I went and saw her speak, and she goes, if you got a problem with me being so upfront and telling it like it is, my name is spelled Bridget. And I was like, yes. It was like that will you marry me moment. I need you to be my sponsor. Because it's life and death. And I talk the solution from the big book, and people don't like it. That's okay. Marianne.
Hi, sorry to ask so many questions today, but I struggle with this right now, and that's one of my questions. So, like, I've tried to help people and almost felt, oh God, this doesn't feel safe for me. Like, I feel like I'm on. So, like treading thin ground. I share my experience and I share this stuff, and then I feel like, oh God, I don't want to get sick myself, So, I know it says that if you're on the firing life, God will protect you. But did you find that when you first started helping people, or do you ever find that now?
Sorry, one second. Say bye for me. Thank you so much, Al. I'll talk to you soon. I'm just on a Zoom.
Yeah, just take a little extra time to drive because I have to really go.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Okay, bye. Sorry, guys. Could you repeat the question? Sorry.
Well, no problem. Sorry. It's just that sometimes, like, I've felt a couple of times where I'm trying to help somebody, and then I feel like, oh, this doesn't feel good. Like, for me, I don't feel safe. Like, I feel like this is sort of I don't want to, I guess I have fear of getting sick again and not really, I don't know. I guess I'm not praying enough to God, but I feel shaky sometimes.
Well, and I would say, like, your experience and your comfort will grow the more you work with others. And it's okay to say no. It's okay to say, I don't think I'm the best suited for you, but I know someone. Like for me, especially like a lot of girls that are in their early 20s will come to me, and I'm like, I'm 42, I'm a mom. I can't relate to 20-year-olds anymore, but I've got girls that I've taken through the book who are sponsoring that I'll say, hey, can you work with this girl? Give her a call. Our cousin, the kid's cousin, is struggling. I can't because I'm her aunt. So I'll call girls that are, in a similar age group to help them. Or if you have someone that's really, really, really sick and it's uncomfortable, it's okay to say, you know what, I think you need a stronger sponsor, right? That's that humility. And then, work with the girls that are maybe a little bit easier, and then you grow in it, and like you get to be more confident and more secure. You know, my hardest ones are the educational types because I'm right like that too. I'm a thinker. So when the thinkers and the thinkers and we clash, you know, it can be like two heads butting, and that doesn't work all the time because we want them to be open-minded, and I might shut their mind with my approach. So we just, it's like this weird fine dance we do. But that's the humility, and even being able to say, I've had girls call me and I've said, you know what, I'm not sure what to do. Let me call my sponsor and I'll call you back. And they actually appreciate that more than me making shit up on my own. And they usually don't like her answer either, but but yeah, that's that humility of being, it's okay to not know what you're doing and to say, you know what, this might be a little bit too much for me, because it can be draining, like draining. The 2 weeks around Christmas this year drained the heck out of me. Like I actually had to, like, I was ready to tell everybody, that's it, no more, I can't do this. And it was, I let my balance get so off, and Christmas is hard for me as it is. And it's like, you just have to have that humility to be like, I need help, I don't know, or this is not my cup of tea, or I don't have experience in that.
So do you find you go, or when you first started this, you went to your sponsor a lot and got guidance that way?
When I didn't have a sponsor, right? I was brought through the book, and I had some male advisors because I couldn't find a woman strong enough to sponsor me, and I'd outgrown everybody. So here I was, kind of this big book thumping girl in the abyss, and I just kind of was flying by the seat of my pants. So I had some spiritual advisors, which were men, and I'd say, what should I do in this situation? What should I do in this situation? And then, you know, slowly but surely I found my sponsor, and now I call her all the time. And it's usually to do with someone who's relapsed, course of action. Now it's doing volume, the volume of people wanting my help, how to be efficient. So, yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Humble. Just be humble. It, like, the humility, in the corporate world, I would never admit I didn't know something. I would make it up, and it would sound really convincing. In the spiritual world, humility is your best asset. Christine.
Hi, I'm Christine. I'm an alcoholic still. You know, I've been listening to you folks and been meditating on all this wisdom that I'm hearing and the different points of view. So, I mean, to me, it's pretty clear in the big book what we need to do. The limits are there, the guidance is there, and it's said in a loving way. But it is clear. Some of it is black and white. You know, he's not sure. Go and figure it out and come back, you know, once you feel like you're ready. Personally, you know, it's like I'm in Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm not in Emotional Anonymous. I'm not in Incest Anonymous. I mean, there's anonymous everything. The thing is that I'm an alcoholic and I have a disease that if I don't take care of it, I will die. It's very serious for me. I'm an addiction counselor. I worked 6 years in addiction counseling. And for this alcoholic, thank God for AA. It's a simple program for very complicated people. I have a hard time following the recipe to be a garden variety drunk, you know, and it's a simple thing. So when I have someone approach me, I mean, that they are alcoholic and they say, I am an alcoholic, this is the solution that I know works. You know, arm reduction shit and all that stuff, fine. If that's what you want, that's not what I have to give. You know, that's not what I have to give. What I know works is this. This is what I believe in, and this is what I'm passionate about. And, you know, I had my two legs split between, you know, counseling, and this is how we do it, and then and you know what? I slipped 4 years ago. It's very serious. So when someone is not conscious of how serious it is, I can help them for a while, and I have a pretty good sense, to help someone clear away what's keeping them from embarking. But after a while, if I see it's not going to happen, I let them go. Thanks.
Thank you so much. And you can sponsor someone without them knowing you're sponsoring them. Like people call you, you can keep guiding them and dropping bombs on them. And, you don't have to wait for someone to say, will you be my sponsor? You can just be like, okay, like, let's keep going. Okay, do this. And then they don't even know. And then poof, you're like their sponsor. And then they're like, will you be my sponsor? And you're like, oh, I already am. Like, thanks for making it official. Marianne in New Jersey. Who's right beside Marianne in Toronto on my screen?
Yeah, the many other Marianne. Hi, Mary. I'm Marianne Alcoholic, and thank you, Kimberly, for all the work you do in this program. I had a while back. I had a sponsee who, I started just talking to and giving advice to, and sort of worked into her asking me to be her sponsor. And she was right before the holidays. She was having a lot of issues with family, and we worked on that, and she got through the holidays okay. So I felt I was, doing a good job. I didn't have a lot of sponsees, so this was, I was glad to be doing this. And then we would talk, and then after the holidays were over, she told me she was working with this holistic healing life coach, and the life coach had advised her to tell me that she needed to get through this 12 steps by the end of April. And I just kind of looked at her with my mouth open, and I said, well, my experience in this program is that you take the steps in order, and you take them as you know what to do with them, as you understand them, as you practice them. And I'm not going to set a timeline on that, because I know from my own experience, it took longer than 3 months to get through the 12 steps with my sponsor. And I was just going to leave it open-ended so that she could do it at the pace that she was going to heal with. And she said, well, that was unacceptable. And she thought, she had had enough of my sponsorship. And her life coach told her if I didn't agree to that she should move on and get another sponsor. And then she told me why, some other things. And I listened to her, and I realized that when she asked me to be her sponsor, she had another sponsor, and she was repeating the same word she said was the reason she left the first sponsor, is why she's leaving me. So basically, I just said to her, clearly you've made up your mind, but don't kid yourself. If you've repeated the same thing with me you did with someone else, don't kid yourself about this. If you're going to stay in AA and that's what your issue is and you need AA, give yourself 2 weeks to find another sponsor and get honest with them. And, you're not going to run this program on the basis of a life coach who's not in AA. So just, and as far as I've heard, she has, walked away from the program, and I haven't heard from her since. Other people have seen her around, in local restaurants drinking. But, after thinking it through, I felt very unsettled. I felt very unhappy about my own role as a sponsor. I wasn't sure I was, doing the right thing. I didn't understand the whole situation. And my sponsor said, forget it. Just forget it. Other people need your time. Don't worry about this. And in looking back now, years later, it seems to me I'm not even sure this girl had an alcohol problem. For all I know, she had relationship issues and needed help getting through it. And when that resolved, she was, doing the rest of her life without AA. But I don't know her story. I don't know how it worked out. All I know is I stayed sober, and I did have to work with my sponsor to not be upset about it, because the only person getting hurt by this whole situation at that point would have been me. So that's all. Thanks.
Thank you so much. And you'll see them. There's those sponsor hoppers, and they've had 5 or 6, and you're their 7th, and you can't take it personally when they move along. But I do want to speak a bit about the length of time it takes to do the steps. There's no set rule. There's no rule on how long or how fast you should take it. There's a guy here in the area that does 12 steps in 12 hours. Get it in, get it done. Then there's the 8-day rapid set people. And then there's, the social suburban step groups where it takes 4 months every Thursday night. There's no hard, fast rule. The whole thing is comprehension. We do a little bit of what we call a triage. So we triage you the 1, 2, 3. We get you that general knowledge in 1 or 2 hours, and then we walk you through the 4, do your 5, give you the knowledge of the 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, get you going, and then you do the big book studies. Then you do the line by lines. Then you go through the book in depth. There's no set rule on how quick or fast. There's some people that maybe, you've been in the fellowship for a long time, and you're sober. You're not at risk at picking up and dying tomorrow, but you'd like to get a good solid set of steps, and that's okay. It can take you a little bit longer. Then there's the people who, have serious life issues, and if we don't get them a solution quickly, they will die, and we want to triage them and get them, bandaged up so that we can, have them alive long enough to give them the solution. Going through a slow set of steps isn't going to work for that person, so there's no set rule, but we do have a set solution. 1 second.